I tell my scout troop anyway. Okay, so it sounded like we're going to do uncontested first now?
Yeah, I think that uncontested
Okay.
first.
All right, so would Sean Reyes, his mysterious brother-in-law, please join us? All right, Senator Fossen. I'll forever be known as Sean Reyes' brother-in-law, Justin Fossen. And I am his brother-in-law, so I don't know that very many people know him better than I do. I've known him for almost 25 years, and Sean is just a terrific individual, and one of the most trustworthy people that I have ever known. And he married a great woman. That tells you a lot about a man. Okay, so I'm just going to cover some of the points that he typically covers, and the first is restore public trust. I think most of you, if you've been around for a couple of years, know what our Attorney General has done in his time in office to restore the public trust in the Attorney General's office. The changes that he's made in that office, and our ability to have trust in our Attorney General and his upholding the law and practicing what he preaches. The next point is protecting our families. Sean has 6 kids, and I know how involved he is in their lives, and I know that one of his priorities here in the state is making sure that our families and children are protected. Sean is committed to reducing drug crimes and keeping illegal substances off the streets. He's committed to reducing white-collar crime. Many of you know that we created a white-collar registry in the 2015 session, and that was mostly due to the Attorney General's efforts. Increasing efficiency and transparency. Attorney General Reyes is one of the few people that I know in state government who's actually come to the legislature and said, no, we don't need all that money, and here's why, and here's how we're going to be more responsible with our budget. Sean has an open door policy. Again, I know he would be here if he could be, and he's been to many of our Weber County events. He comes up here often. In fact, I know his schedule, and it is insane, and I would not want to be him. But he does travel the state, and he's very committed to meeting with delegates and ensuring that he gets face-to-face time with you. Sean is committed also to fighting unconstitutional federal regulations. I do believe that Utah is a leader, and that other states do look to us, and in that position we have to be strong, and we have to be the trendsetters. So on that note, I just would encourage your support for Sean. He's a great individual, and I encourage you to get involved in his campaign and be involved here in Weber County in his campaign and his efforts to be reelected. Thank you. Mysterious brother-in-law. Other uncontested races include Senator Lee. Jordan, would you come up, please?
Thank you so much. My name is Jordan Hess, and I'm working on Senator Lee's campaign. He has this job that requires him to be in Washington during the week, so that's why he's not here tonight. It feels like he was just up here just yesterday, it seems, for the Lincoln Day dinner. He appreciated being here. He's been in the Senate now 6 years. It's been a quick 6 years. It's hard to believe. And during his time in the Senate, he's focused his time on a conservative reform agenda aimed at lifting the poor out of poverty, expanding and strengthening the middle class, and then ending special privilege for the well-connected at the top. And this agenda consists of legislation to reform and simplify the tax code, to modernize and upgrade our system of higher education, to give students more skills needed for today's economy with less student debt, preserve our religious liberty, to strengthen our families, and to reform our welfare system to create more opportunity for the poor rather than keeping them trapped in poverty. He's also been the lead sponsor of legislation to maintain your privacy rights and also to reform our criminal justice system, and those two have been bipartisan efforts. He is the chairman of the Senate Steering Committee, which puts him in a great position to steer the Republicans in a more conservative direction. The Senate Steering Committee gets to influence the conservative policy in the Senate. He's also teamed up with 10 members of Congress, his colleagues, and started what he calls the Article 1 project. Article 1 of the Constitution clearly lays out the different roles of the branches of government, and Congress has lost their role. We now have a president and an administration that writes laws and enforces those laws, rather than Congress writing those laws. And so this team of 10 members of Congress with Senator Lee, they'll meet regularly, they'll put forward legislation to reclaim that legislative authority from the executive branch. And finally, if he were here tonight, he would tell you that you should expect more out of your Congress, because they are your Congress. They represent you. Don't settle for deficit spending. Don't settle for budgets that are out of control. Don't settle for broken promises or overbearing regulation, but you should expect more out of your Congress. And I can tell you, one way I know that he stands up for you is at the end of each day. I worked for him the past 3 years out in D.C. At the end of each day, he'd walk in the office, and we'd pull the arrows out of his chest and the knives out of his back, and we'd pat him on the back and say, "Have a great night, we'll do it all again tomorrow." And he does. Every day he stands up for you and often has to fight against leaders of his own party. And we're really excited that we're no longer opposed. Our challenger withdrew last week, so we look forward to a good fight in the fall and would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Are there any other uncontested races outside of state honor up here on the stand that I missed? No? Okay. State Auditor John Dougal says he's really sorry he can't be here, and he loves you. And if you have any questions, you can talk to him or me after the thing's over. All right. Is that a good speech for John Dougal? He's frugal. He's too cheap to have somebody come and do this for him. Please tweet that. Hey, we're going to start off the contested races with our gubernatorial race. Yes? Oh, you're uncontested? You almost skated through. All right, okay, Liz tells you he's an honest guy, so could you please join us up here?
My name's Greg Buxton. I've served in the House prior to, in 2003, I started my service there. I served for 5 years. I took an appointment from Governor Huntsman at that time and became the director of the state's facilities and construction management. I served in that capacity for Governor Herbert for 4 years, for Governor Huntsman for 2. Ogden City approached me about coming home and saying, "Hey, we need you at home." So I left the state and come back. I'm the management services director for Ogden City. I've desired to go back. I filed for District 20, State Senator District 20, and a Democratic opponent only. I'm thankful for that. I appreciate this opportunity to let you know who I am. I was a land developer and contractor for 30 years before I went into politics. Since I've been in politics, I've served in many different capacities, including serving as a director of the state's facilities, as a consultant, as a home inspector, as a service director in Ogden City, at the present time over 7 divisions of the city. I have experience. I'm going to take my experience and go back and serve in District 20. I've been kind of waiting for Scott to retire. It's kind of hard to unseat an incumbent sometimes. Scott's done a good job, but he supports me in this effort that I make at this time, and I appreciate your support. Greg Buxton, District 20. Thank you.
Thank you, former Representative Buxton. Sorry about that. Are there any others now that I speak down? Okay. Okay, we now will move to our gubernatorial race. We have 3 candidates for this one, and I think I made them pick numbers that Linda gave me. And according to the number lottery system, we will first hear from Jonathan Johnson, right? And then we'll move to Carlos Tavares. Did I say that right? Close enough. We fix it when you get up here. And then we'll go to Governor Herbert. Mr. Johnson.
I'm Jonathan Johnson, and I'm running for governor. And I want to thank 3 groups of people. First, I'd like to thank party for putting this on. It's a lot of work to do these things, and they do a lot of good. Second, I want to thank you, each of you, for being state delegates. Because of you, the caucus convention system is alive and well. I support the caucus convention system. I've been a precinct chair, a county delegate, and a state delegate, the 2 precincts I've lived in. I think it works well. I'm not gathering signatures. I'm only going through the caucus convention system. Because I think if we allow the signature gathering of SB 54 to continue, the caucus convention system will go away, and large parts of Utah will become less relevant because candidates will, for statewide office, will gather signatures in the big city, they'll put big billboards up along the highways, they'll run expensive ads, and they'll never come to meetings like this. These kind of meetings are fantastic. So thank you. The third person I want to thank is our angel timekeeper. Because without her, we would be in the purgatory of political oration. I believe that the government that governs closest to the people governs best. That's something that Jefferson said. And I think we've gotten away from that. Federal overreach has gotten worse and worse over the years. Frankly, states' involvement in government has gotten worse and worse over the years. I like city government, local school districts, much more than I like state government and the State Office of Education, much more than I like the federal government and the Department of Education. When I think about what we've done to invite Common Core into our state, that's exactly the wrong attitude. We should have local school districts determining their standards. Standards are important. I believe in measures. Things that get measured improve, and things that get measured and reported improve remarkably. But when we take top-down direction, a one-size-fits-all, with large data mining and testing, that's a problem. I think it's a problem when we lobby for things like the Every Student Succeeds Act that Congress passed last year, and the National Governors Association pushed to pass. It gives the Secretary of the Department of Education full veto power over our state education plan. It limits the number of students that can opt out of these standardized data mining testings to 5%. We already have more than 5% of our students opting out. Not sure how we're going to pick which ones get to opt out and which ones will be forced to take it. We need to get rid of Common Core. I also believe that we need to work harder to transfer our public lands from the state or from the federal government to the state. We've been talking about it for years. Over the last 8 years, the legislature has given our governor's office many more tools to do that. They've said that it's economically feasible for the state to manage the land. They've begun to put a structure in place for local management that will include the sheriffs, elected local officials, to manage the land. They've funded a lawsuit. They've hired constitutional scholars to do this lawsuit. Until we bring it, the federal government's not going to give us back our lands. And in fact, until we do it, every time we have a Democratic president, we can rest assured they will make a national monument somewhere in our state, like they did with Escalante, and like they'll likely do with the barriers at the end of this year. I'm ready to bring a lawsuit against the federal government to transfer the land. People say our lawsuit is reckless. I say a lawsuit has 3 potential outcomes. We win, in which case we have what we want. We're treated like all the other states east of Colorado. We settle. We settle because we then give the congressmen who are working on the Public Lands Initiative some negotiating leverage to negotiate for more than what they can today. Or we lose, which I think is highly unlikely. It leaves us in a no worse place than we are today. This election, you are the hiring committee. The quality of leaders that we elect determines the quality of government that we get. I've helped build a Utah business, Overstock.com, from a few dozen people to over 2,000 employees. It does nearly $2 billion in business. Give me a look. Go to my website, hirejj.com, and if you like me, I ask you for your vote at the state convention on April 23rd. Thank you.
My name is Carlos Tavares, and I'm running for governor. My friends tell me, why don't you run for governor and say the elephant in the room? Well, that would, sure that's the right thing to say. I consider myself the Republican Party. A lot of people are asking me, what are you? What are you, Republican? My mom, Congressman Bob Wilson, R. San Diego, introduced my mother to my dad at my dad's shipyard, where he was building, fittingly, Liberty ships. Without that introduction, I'm the second issue of that. Without introduction, I wouldn't have. So, thank you very much for all Republicans here. You're a party to me being here, alive. Now, I just want to digress just a little bit. There's a guy in San Diego at the ship. He must have started his career at the shipyards. He's an insurance salesman. So to get a contract like at a shipyard where we're hiring maybe, my dad was like 10 to 15% of the population. We're building these ships. He had to get them out. He got them in 3 days, the whole ship. He surprised everyone and got a national accommodation from the Maritime Commission. And Bob Driver is from here, and he went to San Diego to start a business. And I think he started insurance at my dad's shipyard. So we've seen him through the years. I was the only one who could attend his son. He has a wonderful son, died early. And so I attended the funeral, and I was very reverent because I was taken. They were very dear. We spent a lot of time as kids there. And so he remembered that. He saw me later. He said, you know, I saw your mom at some kind of function that they were. And she tells me you're up in, you moved to Colville. Yeah. And he says, well, how do you like it up there amongst the Mormons? And I said, well, he says, well, you know, he says, they can be a little rough up there, a little rough on you. And I said, no, life is well, you know, if they practice their religion and I practice my religion, and if they don't, you know me, I'll go to the church and go walk in and I'll just say it. And he goes, yeah, oh, okay. I said, good. And he said, you know, my family founded Ogden. I said, come on. He says, my grandmother was a farm. And her dad founded Ogden. I said, no kidding. I go, whoa. I go, well then does that mean that I can call on you or your family in case I'm ever, just in case anybody's mean to me or anything? He says, absolutely. He says, you can be an ex officio member of my family, the family that founded Ogden. So please, if I do anything that offends you or say anything weird, consider the fact that I'm your family. Isn't that amazing? The extent from Ogden to here. Okay. The people have asked why, you know, why wasn't it debate? Why I don't come to meetings? And I'll tell you, I'm overwhelmed with fear. I'm overwhelmed with anger, and I'm overwhelmed with sadness. And I find, I didn't know that there was a venue like this where all of you are state delegate. You guys make the decision for me. And I'm wild with the passion that this is not necessary and that it can be fixed. It sure as heck isn't going to be easy. It's a monumental task. But no more monumental than the greatest generation had to do against the Japanese. Probably had a 5-minute thing. Did I get 5 minutes? Wow. So look, don't be mad at me for not debating. And please don't be mad at me for coming to the other. I had no idea this would be all state delegates. I came just to say hello, show my face, and honor what was happening. I didn't know you were the people that are then. I've got to send you an email that's put together showing the principles that I have. Now I have to stop. But please consider that. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. It's great to be back in Ogden, and we appreciate, as Jonathan said, your involvement and your participation and taking on the responsibility. You know, there was a New Yorker magazine article here about a year ago that talked about, the title was "The Myth of Upward Mobility in America Today." It talked about the whys, the wherefores. It's the Great Recession, the challenges, the rich are staying rich, the poor are staying poor, the middle class is stagnant. In the middle of the article, they said, in essence, it's a myth of upward mobility in America today, except in Utah. They said upward mobility in Utah is as healthy as any place in the world today. They went on to say, if we just knew what they were doing in Utah, we could in fact incorporate that and maybe take it around the country and bring back upward mobility today. Well, the good news is we know what we're doing in Utah. We know what's causing that to have happen, and have economic excellence. And you know it as well as anybody in our state right here in Weber County. In Newsweek magazine, some of you remember here a few months back, the largest middle class in the nation, the city that had the largest middle class was Ogden. We see that between here and Wasatch Front, this upward mobility opportunity, the large middle class is alive and well. It's because we have good policies in place that empower the private sector, to allow the entrepreneur, the risk taker, to create wealth and create jobs. We have competitive tax rates. We've had regulation reform. We have a skilled labor force. We have efficiency in state government. Our state government right now is more efficient than it's ever been in our history. We have fewer state employees today providing services for we the people of Utah, a smaller number than we had back in 2002 at the Winter Olympics. You have to go to 2001 to find a smaller number. And yet we have 700,000 more people that call Utah home. That's the efficiency in state government that's allowed us to have great economic recovery here. And although it's a little chaos out there in the country, right here in Utah, we are leading the nation in virtually every measurable way. Our competitive tax rates, the Tax Foundation on the national level just announced we have the second lowest property tax rates, the fifth lowest corporate tax rates, and the ninth most business-friendly tax climate of any place in America today. That's fueling our economic expansion. Now, again, we've been able to take and invest in education. My opponent mentions education. We have a great system that's working very well. The latest NAEP scores that have come out have said in 8th grade math, for example, we are 11th in the nation now. 51st in spending, but 11th in outcome. 10th when it comes to reading language arts. 7th when it comes to science. So you like what you hear, hug a teacher. Our teachers are doing a great job. Our principals, our superintendents, our local elected school board members, and our state school board members. They are tasked with the responsibility of determining the standards in Utah and what the curriculum is at the local level. And it's working. I can tell you, I don't see a practical way to have local school districts determine what, in fact, the standards are. Getting a high school diploma would be different in every one of our 41 school districts. It's not practical. And besides that, it's against our state constitution and our statutes. So we'd have to make that change if we're going to do that. That being said, I'm a big believer in local control. I put the money in my recommendation in the budget is putting it all down at the local level. Let them make the determinations of where they spend the money. Hiring more teachers, smaller classroom sizes, technology. Whatever they think the needs are in their local districts, they ought to have that control, and I certainly support that. By the way, the ESSA is an outcropping of a law that we put on the books in 1965. How many knew that? 1965, we've had this on the books, the SEA, for 50 years. We've always had to submit, as it was developed, an education plan to the Secretary of Education. The difference with the ESSA, though, is we've changed now where the Secretary of Education cannot just turn it down, we have to submit it to get approval. Now the mandate is for him to improve it. Part of the reason that you're a governor is to try to make things better, to take what you find and make it better. The ESSA, although not perfect, but we've got language in them that says the federal government cannot dictate standards to the states, including Common Core. So it's a major step in the right direction, something we ought to say, hey, that's great, it's better. And we can work for better improvements in the future. Again, at the end of the day, we have a great state because we have great people like yourselves who are engaged and involved. The chaos in the world today causes us concern, but I'm here to tell you, Utah is becoming the island of tranquility in a sea of chaos we see around us. So keep up the good work. Utah's #1.
I just wanted to run a test case, excuse me. I'm out there watching all of you fanning yourselves. So we opened up these doors. Did that help, or is it too loud, or is it okay? Help? Okay, great. Good deal. We will now move on to our congressional races. So thank you to each of our gubernatorial candidates. And it looks like right now we have Mr. David Lynch is here. Did I say that right? On a roll. All right. I do not see Congressman Bishop's campaign, so I will turn the time over to you.
Thank you for being here. My name is Dave Chu, and I am Rob Bishop's challenger for 1st District Congress. The greatest benefit to the most people over the many centuries has proven to be freedom. It has a powerful mutuality in truth. The truth makes us free. That's why we're conservatives rather than liberals or libertarians. Libertarians are very big on freedom, but they get nervous about the truth. Liberals, not so much of either. But we are about mutuality between truth and freedom. And that is why elected officials and those who preserve our freedom swear an oath to preserve and uphold the Constitution. Some like to claim that the Constitution is a living document, but they are usually those who are comfortable enslaving or even killing it to suit their agenda. The Constitution only lives to the degree to which we are faithful to it. Some of you may know this quote from Ronald Reagan in 1975, before he was first running for president. Nations crumble from within when the citizenry asks of government those things which the citizenry might better provide for itself. If those motivated to stay informed and vote refuse to limit elected officials' presumptive re-election, asking the politicians to provide for it with term limit laws, then what claim do we have to expect others to be restrained in how much they ask of government? The 13-star banner that some of you saw me standing with, that some of you see on the flyers I hand out, I hope you'll get one from me if you haven't yet already, was George Washington's personal flag during the Revolution. We need to hold true to his legacy, not continue tolerating business as usual in Washington, D.C. He was the most essential person to the success of the Revolution and the Constitution which began our republic. Yet he resisted overextending his incumbency as a powerful statement on trusting and preserving freedom. Representative Bishop is a good man with an impressive record. The founders declined to specify a limit to terms in office, but the voluntary example of George Washington is the antidote to overly intrusive government born of overstayed incumbency. Proper restraint may someday come via term limits, but we have the opportunity now. It must start with us. Senator Lee is Utah's greatest elected official, in my opinion. I cannot claim to be either Washington or Lee, yet they will be my standards for serving with the kind of character and courage they have demonstrated in preserving freedom. Our environment, education, energy, the economy, and other priorities are too important to allow more and worse government over-intrusion. Our Utah delegation to the House of Representatives ranges from under 60% to about 80% ranking on conservative faithfulness to the Constitution. My promise is that 1st District will have a 30% improvement and be even more committed to ending the federal occupation of Utah. Let me close. Oh man, I missed a whole page, but that's okay. You can find out about it on my flyer. Let me close with one more quote that many of you heard Saturday before last, and that many more of you have seen on social media since then, and anybody can understand it. Quote, "Now just one word to those of our single brethren who follow the deception that they first have to find the perfect woman before they can enter into serious courting or marriage. My beloved brethren, and you notice I'm not trying to do a German accent here, may I remind you, if there were a perfect woman, do you really think she would be that interested in you? Now that is fabulous. It relates. I am promising a great deal when I mention Mike Lee and George Washington as ideals. But you would still be taking a big risk in voting for me. However, if you want someone closer to perfect, then that's what it'll take. Getting off the couch of presumptive re-election and showing a willingness to renew our leadership in Washington. I'm Dave Chu. Please come get one of my papers, and I hope we'll be more in touch. Thank you.
Take my magic paper too. All right, thank you, Mr. Chu. Okay, we will go ahead and move on down the list. We have our candidates for, it's a statewide office, our candidates for state treasurer here. We have Dave Damsha and Merrill Cook. So, which one of you won that one? Do you remember?
You won.
He won, so you're going first? I
That
think
means
so.
I won.
All right, let Dave come up first. Here you go.
Thank you, Ryan. My name is David Damsha. It's my honor to serve you as your state treasurer. I served as chief deputy for 7 years before being appointed to the office by Governor Herbert last December. The most important thing I can tell you about myself is I'm a servant, and in explaining that, I'd like to talk a little bit about how much I love this county and how much time I spend in it. I'm a resident of northern Davis County. Just finished my 11th year on the Powder Mountain Ski Patrol. Anyone have a preference for Powder Mountain over Snow Basin?
Yeah.
Just to balance things out, my oldest did race on the team at Snow Basin 1 year. So I don't know if it's just me, but I'm a little uncomfortable tromping on that carpet in those lodges at Snow Basin. A little too nice. But the toilet's flush. Can't say the same for Powder Mountain, truth be told. I served for 5 years on the board at CNN Center. I'd like to call out, if I could, your community has such strong leadership across the board, and I don't mean to single anyone out at the exclusion of others. Greg, thank you for your service on the State Building Ownership Authority. As a member of the State Building Board, Greg helped us do several bonding transactions very cost effectively. Financed several buildings over the years during his time on that Building Ownership Authority. I also want to point out Ricky Hatch, your clerk auditor, is fantastic. He and I served together on the Private Activity Bond Allocation Board. And it's a critical function where we allocate these private activity bond resources to affordable housing projects and also education and other related financings. John Bond, is John still in the room to hear me say how much I appreciate him? Your county treasurer, John Bond, is spectacular. One of the boards that I serve on is the Money Management Council, which oversees compliance by not only public treasurers, but also broker-dealers, bankers, and investment advisors. Compliance with the State Money Management Act. It ensures that your public funds are held securely in the banking system to ensure that the investments that are made with your funds are made prudently. And John Bond has served for the last 3 years very faithfully. He's a very inquisitive, passionate public servant, and I just want to extend my thanks to him. Just really briefly, you may not be that familiar with the Treasurer's Office. We issue legislatively authorized bonds. We manage about $11 billion in investments. We oversee all the state's banking contracts, and I also oversee the state's unclaimed property division. I want to ask a favor of you, if you could at some point, whether now or later with your smartphone or at your computer when you get home, take a look at mycash.utah.gov, mycash.utah.gov. This past year we took in $37 million in unclaimed property. Some of us lose track of savings accounts, refund checks, that type of a thing, and our mission in unclaimed property is to reunite that money with you, the rightful owner. Last year we paid out $22.5 million in unclaimed property. That is nearly triple the level of 4 years prior. A lot of what we do in managing the state's treasury, it's about implementing technologies to be more efficient, reduce cost, to reduce the burden on you, the taxpayer. We implemented imaging technology, a fast-track outsourcing system and automation for processing the smaller claims, and a comprehensive marketing and social media campaign to raise awareness of mycash.utah.gov. And that's what brought us to the all-time high of 22.5 million last year. With your help, if you'll go online and look for yourself, family members, friends, neighbors, co-workers, 1 in 5 Utahns have a property with us. So that's a certain percentage of you in the room have money, and we want it back in your pocket. It's a critical part of our mission. The other thing that we do is we work very hard to protect and preserve the state's AAA bond rating. We've been rated by all 3 primary rating agencies for quite some time. You might know that we're in rare company in that regard. Only 9 states have a AAA bond rating. It's not something that we can just sit on our hands with. We have to work diligently. Rating agency methodologies have changed radically since the Dodd-Frank re-regulation of the banking industry in 2010. We work to ensure that our disclosures are faster and faster each year. Last year we jumped ahead by 1 year in terms of our pension disclosure practices, and we're cited by the complimented by the rating agencies for our action in that area as well. I would just ask for your support as state treasurer on the 23rd, and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Weber County delegates. My name is Merrill Cook, and I'm running for Utah State Treasurer. Weber County is a county dear to me, particularly in the political arena where we had more volunteers than any other county, certainly per capita, I think in absolute terms, for the tax limitation initiative that I led here in the state of Utah. Get those questions on the ballot so that the voters could vote for them. The Salt Lake Tribune once said I had gotten the record of gathering the most signatures of any other political person, I think something over 750,000 over the various initiatives. But I think it's important to preserve the caucus system, and although I know how to get signatures, I am running my campaign through the convention caucus process, because I think it's important that we can continue this opportunity of having to be able to decide our policies in this manner. But I want to answer the question that people have asked me as to why I'm running for state treasurer after serving in the Congress of the United States for 4 years. Well, it's because I'm qualified. That's number one. I have a strong background in finance. And I'll get into that just in a minute, but I'd like to say that what really motivated is the people that thought that the state treasurer's office being a fiduciary responsibility, in fact, it's the most important fiduciary office of the state, with the billions of taxpayer dollars that come through, have to be parked in a short-term basis, invested wisely, securely, but to get a reasonable return. And sometimes when you deal in so much money, it's important to have turnover at the top. It's important to have changes at times. If you read the Wall Street Journal or Bloomberg Business or financial, public finance experts across the country, they say it's appropriate to limit the terms. We've had some fine state treasurers, but the last 2 state treasurers have served a total of 34 years. That's not a whole lot of turnover. And although they've been professional, they've been honest people, if we get complacent, there is a chance for corruption, there is a chance for scandal, there is a chance of getting too cozy with inside groups and not really watching and having the most careful systems. And also I think new blood can bring in new systems that can bring in modernization. And on that note, I was just mentioning that having served in Congress, I was on the banking and financial institutions committees. I dealt with some of the highest levels of the American banking industry, just about every bank and financial institution, investment company here in the state of Utah. I know my way around investment, bonding, the appropriateness of getting the best possible credit rating consistent with concern for the taxpayers of the state. I have an MBA in finance from Harvard Business School and worked for Arthur D. Little as a professional management consultant and financial expert dealing with state treasuries, departments, and also those in the corporate sphere. So I would know how to bring some new energy, new management, new computer systems, modernization to the state treasurer's office. And that would be my goal, is to take it to a new level and be the best state treasurer's office anywhere in the United States and be acknowledged as such. But I do want to say something about that all-important bond rating. You know, if you look at my sign, you'll see that I tout that I was, that I'm Utah's tax limitation Republican. I think tax limitation is important. We stand up in the state treasurer's office for the people. It's one thing to try to get a credit rating by just raising taxes and fees. It's another thing to get it through fiscal management. That would be my desire. And you know, as important as bonding sometimes is, we have high bonding here in the state of Utah, and I don't want to see bonds constantly increase. I'm not a shrinking wallflower when it comes to standing up and telling the state that maybe we better go easy. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Mr. Cook, Mr. Township. We will now turn to, we'll just go by number with Legislative District 11. This is Matt Bell and Kelly Miles. Which one of you want to? Kelly gets to go first, that's the one.
My name's Kelly Miles, and I am running for state legislature in the House District 11. And probably the most important thing you ought to know about me is that I married the former Linda Burdett. And Governor Herbert said that you need to hug a teacher. I get to hug a teacher every day. So I want to thank her for her support. We've been lifelong residents of South Ogden, and I thank my dad regularly. He moved here from Logan. Well, he moved down to Utah County first because he got a math professor and he was teaching at BYU, and they wanted him to get his doctorate. And he had been tired of school, and so he decided to come to Weber State because they offered him a position and told him he didn't have to get his doctorate. So I love Weber State because I live in Weber County and not Utah County, so sorry about that. But anyway, that's how we ended up here back in 1968, and I've lived in South Ogden ever since. And I think I live in one of the greatest districts in the state. The cities that I would represent, South Ogden, Uena, South Weber, Riverdale, Washington Terrace, and a little bit of Layton. And I am excited about this opportunity to run. I am a graduate from Weber State University, graduated back in 1986, and got my first taste of politics then when I served as the academic vice president to Todd Anderson, and really enjoyed it. I sat on the Senate one year and then served, and had always thought in the back of my mind that I might take a trip into politics someday. And when Brad D. decided he didn't want to seek re-election, I thought it was a perfect opportunity. But because of that, I am an outsider to the political fray. And I have practiced law for 27 years and have an office, our own small business owner here on 26th and Washington, Floor and Miles. And I feel I'm qualified to visit and sit in the House. My job consists of looking at the facts and gathering facts and taking a fair look at the facts and then analyzing them and determining how they apply to the law and apply to what desired outcomes we want. And then, of course, the final decision is to apply those facts and to make the decisions and hopefully legislate and broker an agreement or settlement. Often, a lot of people have asked, well, why did you decide to run? And what is it that interested you about it? And I guess, one, the opportunity arose, but primarily, I just really enjoy being involved. I recognize a lot of you out there. I've had a chance to visit with a lot of our own state delegates from Ledge 11. And those of you that have met me know I can talk. In fact, I've been accused of ending a sentence with a sentence. So, and so I not only do I like people, but I like to get involved. And all the while on my career, I've served on a number of different boards. We helped establish the Boys and Girls Club of Weber and Davis County when we saw that there was a real need. And we set forth, and I continue to sit on that board and help out. And get a lot of satisfaction of helping there. I sat on the Ogden Weber Applied Technology College Foundation Board and helped with fundraising and higher education and the alumni board at Weber. And I currently sit on the hospital board, McCady Hospital. I've chaired that board. And so I have the ability to get involved and to look at the issues but more than just the issues and that challenge is to represent you as a legislative district when it comes down to it. And I'm thankful for this opportunity. I believe in fiscal conservatism. With my wife a teacher, I'm familiar with the education issues that we're faced with. I believe in a high quality of life, and I want to stand forth and defend the families. But because I'm new to the process, I don't have all the answers, and I will ask you to direct me in the direction you want. I'm Kelly Miles, and I ask for your vote for Legislative District 11.
Thank you. I'm Matt Bell, and I'm currently one of your Weber County Commissioners. It's been a great job. It's been a great ride. I decided that I am going to retire in January, and I'm going to make some other focuses in my life. One of them right now is I want to run for the state legislature. A little bit about me. I have a daughter that's 18 years old. Going to send her off to college this fall. I was a sheriff's deputy before I got in politics. I worked in corrections for many years. I worked in law enforcement for a lot of years. I'm a former business owner of Bell Photography. My brothers still own that, and currently my family and I own some storage units and some rental properties together. So, what have I done since I've been county commissioner? So, you're going to put me in the legislature if you vote for me. What have I done? Number one is the libraries. We built libraries. They came and wanted to spend $65 million. We said that won't, it's too much money. A 100,000 square foot facility. So that's too big. So we started, finally we put it up bond out, it was $45 million. We built a library. We took $3 million out of the one in Roy, and we ended up a really nice facility out there. So conservative. I was in office for less than a month, maybe 5 weeks, and I had some folks approach us, says we need a new 911 center. We need $9 million. I said, well, why didn't you do it while the other folks were here? They could have built you a new 911 center. Well, but now it's a problem. Well, we did nothing. Right now we're trying and working as a county to get a new 911 center. We've been working at the options. The price tags come way down. It looks like possibly we can do it without a tax rate. Don't know yet. We're still working on that right now. We've been involved in a lot of road projects in Weber County. We're building 12th Street. It's made the paper once in a while. But that is where the growth in Weber County is going to have to come, is out there. What do I want to do as a person as I come to the legislature? First of all, I believe in the Constitution. Constitution, anytime we make a decision, when I make decisions now, and they come across our desk all day long, is it constitutional? Is it the right thing we're doing? Do we want to be involved in our neighbors' lives? Or is this something we should not be involved in? So I'll throw a few things down. Number one is JRI, that's the Justice Reinvestment Initiative. The reality of it is we're doing some good things there. We babied down a bunch of crimes. We're getting more people out of jail than ever. But there's people that belong in jail. And they're going to stay in jail. And we got these folks out here, I call it the cupcake syndrome. They want everybody to keep giving them chance after chance after chance. And then we're not going to be safe out there with people on the street like that. The next one is Medicaid expansion. Yeah, I'll bring that up. How are we going to pay for it? If it's possible to get paid for, then we need to look at that. But right now, it's not possible. I've talked with our different senators down there, and that is something that is coming around too. The next one is water. I currently serve on a water and sewer district. Water is extremely important for this state. We must prepare ourselves for water. My thought is we have water. The expensive part is getting where we need it. I mean, there's folks in the Mississippi Valley who would love to send all their water our way because they don't know what to do with it all. And we don't have it here. So we've got to learn how to get water and be conservative there. I will hold the line on taxes. Also, federal mandates. We talked about the federal mandates. Well, I'm going to say there's county mandates. And our good folks from the state that are running for office, we get mandates. I could jump into them all right and left. I could tell you about our conditional probation, our contract inmates. The state doesn't pay their bills. They'll give a portion of it, and depends on how it works out each year. And I think that as a state legislature, not only do we not want the federal government telling us what to do, we don't want the state putting mandates on these counties up here in the county. And the next one, the last one I'll wrap up on is the Second Amendment. So I happened to meet a police chief from the East Coast and some folks back there. We were at a discussion a while back. We were talking about the Second Amendment out there, and they wanted these restrictions. And of course, I'm the only voice in the room of reason, in my opinion, says I don't think there should be any permitting process. Why should we require the good citizens of our state, if they want to carry a weapon, to have a permit? And so those are some things that I think that we need to do, and we need to back off a little bit with the federal government and the state government. So my name is Matthew Bell. I've been your county commissioner, and I have loved serving you, and I've appreciated you. I've served the party. I did not go the signature route. I'm a party guy. I have to walk the talk. I could have went out and collect signatures in a half a minute, hire somebody and go get them collect signatures. I don't believe in that because it is not the right thing. I believe in the delegates. That's where I'm going. I need your vote, and then we'll have a chance to get in a primary and start debating the issues one-on-one. Thank you. Matthew Bell.
In our final race of the night that we have is Legislative District 29, James Mackley and Lee Perry.
Good evening, friends. My name is Jim Macklin. I'm running for State Legislative District 29. And I say friends because I consider you my friends. Because you're here as delegates. And I myself also am a delegate. And so I've been also listening to the state candidates, and it's been great. And you know, as delegates, you have a very important responsibility. And it's a wonderful opportunity. And this might be a very important election because those of you who vote for those us state candidates who are running without going through the petition process, which, as you know, at one time was called Count My Vote, or some people derogatorily called it Count My Money, was something that would destroy this very system by which you're here tonight. So my position is that we need to preserve the caucus system. You know, and I do want to say one thing though about my opponent, Representative Lee Perry. I appreciate all the good that he's done. And you know, between the two of us, one of us is is better looking and one of us is more conservative, and I'll leave it up to you which is which. So my purpose is to serve the people, and not only you as delegates, but your families and other families that are out there, other people. It means just as much to me, the person that I will be representing, hopefully. The person who doesn't vote, although I wish they would vote, I still would represent them. And it's the individual that counts. And the liberties that we have as people, God-given liberties. And that's my purpose, is to protect those. This is my handbook right here. The Constitution of the United States. And the state of Utah also follows the Constitution of the United States. And so I support those, and I would, as a candidate, as a state representative, I would support those completely. For us to be able to maintain our liberties and freedoms, we need to guard this Constitution and those God-given liberties that we've been given. And one of those, of course, as most of you know, is the right to freedom of religion. Religion is coming under attack nowadays. And I stand just as much for people of my faith as I would for any other faith out there. They have the right to worship how they wish. Now back to SB 54, which, if I'm elected, one of the first things I'll do is work with other legislators to repeal SB 54. Freedom will stand strong. This caucus system will continue on. But I wanted to say something about virtue and freedom. I'd like to read from some of the founding fathers who I look up to as the greatest guys who formulated this government. First, from John Adams. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. James Madison also said that in the Federalist Papers that if men were angels, we would have very little need for government. But since we're not angels, we have to have government. And of course, there are some services that we provide too, which we can join together as citizens. Also, I'd like to quote from George Washington, who said, the adoption of the Constitution will demonstrate as visibly the finger of providence, which we know divine providence, in other words, heaven sent, as any possible event in the course of human affairs can ever designate. So George Washington is my hero as far as politics are concerned. And I just want to leave this also to let you know that my website is jimfor29.org if you need more information. Please vote for me. Thank you very much.
I'm Lee Perry. I'm running for House District 29 for House of Representatives, and I have upheld the Constitution for 28 years of my career. I actually work in law enforcement, so I've upheld not only the United States Constitution, but the state Constitution. And when I got into politics, to run as a House as a representative, the reason I got in is because I was concerned about the fact that a lot of representatives don't always listen to their constituents. And that's one of the things that I committed to do when I got in, is to listen to the constituents that I represent. And as a representative, I've been able to do that. I've been able to listen to the constituents that I represent and be able to assist them and help them. Every year I've been in the legislature, I have run constituent-driven legislation. Somebody from the district has come to me and said, I think this is a good idea. I think we need to have this in our state, or we need to do something different. And I've been able to run those types of pieces of legislation out there. Just to give you some ideas of some of the legislation I've been able to run. I had a constituent that found out that our voter registration records were open to the public, and people could get online and get our voter registration records easily. Well, I worked with a senator, and we ran a bill to limit the access to voter registration records. I had a constituent come to me and say, our eminent domain laws aren't good enough. And I helped run an eminent domain bill to help protect our personal and private property rights against government eminent domains. I've also sponsored legislation to assist our military veterans, giving them the ability to live in our state and be able to bring back the services and things that they have and can provide to our state that we really truly need here, that will be able to assist them in choosing to live in Utah and remain here, not living somewhere else. I've also passed bills that deal with water legislation. As it's been mentioned here, water is one of those major issues we have to deal with here in the state of Utah. We've got to think about where our water is coming from. We're going to double our population in another by 2060. We'll have a doubled population. We have to have a water plan, and we need to make sure that we're putting water away and that we have the ability to provide for our future, for our children, the people who come after us. So I've worked extensively on water issues as the chairman of the Natural Resources and Agriculture Committee. I've been able to work with Senator Jenkins from Weber County, which has been great. We've worked as co-chairs to help promote water conservation and water issues. Like I said, I try to listen to make sure that I'm representing the people of House District 29 the very best way I know how. I love getting phone calls. I love visiting with the schools that come down and visit with us and be able to see the future leaders of our state that will be moving forward. When I ran initially, I ran because I'm a father of 4 children. Now I have 2 of them. One that's just graduated from Utah State University, one that will just be coming back from a mission, and 2 that are still in school. One that's just going into high school, and one that's in intermediate or in middle school. So education is a big deal to me as a father. I want to make sure we have the very best education for our children. I think that's critical. I think we need to continue to build our economy and to work with our local businesses. I've been elected, I've been given the award of being a business leader by the Salt Lake Area Chamber of Commerce, which is a statewide chamber, for the last 3 years because of the way that I voted for things that are business friendly. Those are the types of things that I bring to the table as a member of the House of Representatives. I think that I can do an effective job to continue to represent House District 29, to be able to continue to listen to the voices of the people who I represent. And that's why I come here, is because I ask for the delegate support to make sure that I can continue to serve the people of House District 9. And as a conservative Republican, I'm ending way before my 5 minutes, so thank you very much. Please vote for me.
I had given up that one of them was going to do that, so nice job. All right, we will now move to the question and answer portion. This is not a debate format. We simply get to ask a question of an individual candidate, and that person will have a moment to respond. And we will just go. 30 seconds was the limit on the question, and she's a great timekeeper, so I will stop you. All right, go ahead. Please stand, yes.
Thank you. Bob Burnett, who writes a column for Utah Policy, suggested with a more moderate legislature elected through the count by vote system, it's time for a income tax increase for education. Just like to ask the gubernatorial candidates and legislative candidates for a quick answer. Would you, under any circumstances, support an increase in the income tax, either by signing the bill or by voting for it on the floor?
Okay. Should be pretty short answers. Why don't you come up in the order that you presented?
I've signed the American for Tax Reform pledge that I will not increase taxes as the governor. That means that we'll either need to grow the tax pool or reallocate the tax pie if we need to put more money into education. But I'm tired of us having surpluses and raising taxes at the same time.
Did any of you notice I'm sitting in my seat fidgeting? If you woke up tomorrow and discovered that everything you had in your savings and in your bank was worth 0, what would you say to answer that? If you didn't have a job, didn't have any money? I think some of these questions are really not going to the urgency that I have. I got a bad feeling about where we are. We just said. Now, in regard to this changing, I think the delegate system is just the best. Because when you get people like me who come in with these different ideas, really markedly different ideas, it's important that they get filtered through the delegate process. So I don't agree with any of that business. I like the delegate process, and I would never raise income taxes right now. You know, we're in such trouble.
Not only will I not raise income tax, we've on my watch cut the income tax and flattened the rate from 7 to 5. We've worked with the legislature. This is really a combined effort to make sure we get the right tax policy. And so what we've chosen to do is, in fact, make sure that we kick the economy into gear, which has allowed us to raise a lot more revenue, and that's why we've been able to put $1.8 billion of new money into education. Raising income tax, which is earmarked for education, is the wrong way to go about it.
Like I mentioned, I'm kind of new to this, and I guess it would probably take a very convincing set of facts to make me consider any kind of an increase in tax. But I don't think I could never say never at this point in time. And so what I would do is make sure that it benefited not only our district, but the state as a whole. But if there was a convincing enough argument, I think I'd have to be open at least to consider it. So, thank you.
Absolutely not. No, government has a spending problem, not an income problem. I see that every day.
My philosophy is cut taxes and increase freedom.
I agree with the governor. We've gone to 5% income tax. We're growing the economy. That's the answer. That's the way we get money to education where it belongs. I actually propose an income tax cut this year for our military retiree veterans. Like I said, bring more money back into our states. I think that's the answer.
That was really good, both on the question time and the answers. Thank you. Yes, Richard. Loud.
Yeah, so I was just wondering for the gubernatorial candidates if you do or would support for-profit education at the K through 12 level, and if you support compulsory education at this time.
Okay.
My view is that parents have the primary responsibility for educating their children. It's not the state. Now, many parents, like Courtney and I, have chosen to partner with the state, and we send our kids to public school. But I think we need to make it so that parents have more ability to personalize their children's education. That's why I propose putting in place what's been done in Nevada, in Arizona, Florida, education savings accounts, which gives parents the ability to spend the money that the state has on whether it's on public school, private school, online learning, or homeschool. Let parents control how their children are educated.
Thanks for the question. You have schools in your Constitution, and I think whatever the Constitution requires, we really need to understand that and do exactly what it says. Now, as far as compulsory education to the high school level, I grew up with a lot of kids whose dads were famous and very accomplished. Every one of them that goofed off during high school never did a thing worth a darn in their adult lives. Life is high school. We're going through a social stage, we're going through a growing stage, and we're going through an experiential stage where we are expected to learn something, we come out, and then we become complete through a life. High school has got all those ingredients, and if we're not with our kids and helping them through all these things, especially acquiring knowledge, not wisdom, just knowledge, ABCs.
We do have a requirement in our state constitution to have a free and public education, so the legislature really does need to fund that and make sure it's available. But I'm not for much compulsory anything. And so I think that we, as parents and as people, we ought to have choice. and the opportunity to pick and choose. Our students don't all learn the same way. I had a daughter that homeschools because she did not fit into the public education cubicle very well for a variety of reasons. We have a voucher system. It was the most comprehensive voucher system that was ever passed in America. Here in Utah, it was overturned by the voice of the people. But that's given rise to charter schools. And we have a choice now in charter schools. About 10% of our public education schools are charter schools. And we have more traditional education choice where you can hop from school to school. So again, private education is certainly available out there. The more choice we give our parents and our students, the better off they will be to excel.
Blue shirt? Sorry, I don't know your names.
Greg McKay, hello. I have a question. I'm a parent. I know a lot of parents. One of the key things that I see that seems to be the most unpopular thing is Common Core. Most of us, we didn't support it. We didn't want it there. We wanted it out. So my question is, now that it's in place, what do we do to get it out? Is that something that's on the top of your list of things to do? And it being not supported by the majority of the parents, what do we do to that as the people of Lion?
Mr. Johnson?
I enjoy getting the first swat at each one of these. I don't like Common Core. It's a federally mandated program, and while our Attorney General, at the governor's behest, looked at it, one of the things he said is that we have the ability to get out of it. As governor, I'll work to get out of it. I think what we need to do is we need to hold the state school board to what their state constitutional charge is, to provide general oversight over education. Today in Common Core, we have the state school board setting the curriculum and the test that all 600,000 plus students must follow. The governor in his earlier remarks said we can't do it on a district by district basis. Sure we can. Districts come together with their plans, submit them to the state school board, exercise their general oversight rule. They say it's acceptable, they say it meets a standard that fits. That's how we do it. I will make getting rid of Common Core a top priority.
You have to forgive me. I promised when I undertook the running for governor, I never would say anything derogatory. I wouldn't appear in public. I wouldn't let my emotions or fears come out and say anything derogatory. So please accept me as an extended family member when I say this. If I were sitting at my desk and I'm in an important office and something like this came across my desk, I would ask myself, who the heck has the nerve to put something like this in front of me to approve it? Who has the nerve to do that? And whoever did would be sorry that he even put it on my desk.
Well, as we all know, Common Core is a set of standards, not curriculum, it's standards. Our elected state school board, by our constitution, by the state statutes, are required to determine the standards. They did adopt, along with 44 other states, what was the Common Core standards on reading, language, arts, and math. The ESSA, we've been having problems getting out of No Child Left Behind, which everybody's wanted. The Congress has been kicking that ball down the road for a long time. Finally have passed a bill and saying in the statute that the federal government cannot dictate to the states on any kind of standards, including Common Core. It's the plain language of the bill now. So what we need to do, if we want to change the standards, we have the ability, the flexibility, talk to our state school board members that you've elected, tell them you want to change. What is it about the standards you don't like? They always ask that question. They don't get a very good answer because we don't like Common Core is not enough. We don't like Common Core standards because this standard here is wrong or this is wrong. We're making the changes. In Davis County, Desert News just talked about changing the math product that they have here in Davis County. Didn't ask permission, just got it done.
This is for Governor Herbert. Governor, constitutional carry bill, I believe, twice. And you mentioned today the reason for that is because the majority of Utahns don't support constitutional carry. Yet we live in a republic which is supposed to protect the rights of the individual from the majority. So I want to ask again, why do you not support the constitutional carry?
Well, we have constitutional carry now. It's been tested all the way to the Supreme Court, and states have the right to put parameters on, in fact, our right to bear arms. It's like freedom of speech, but you can have some parameters. State has the right to put those parameters on. We have a very Second Amendment friendly state. I'm a concealed weapon permit holder myself. Many of you probably are too. I've only vetoed the bill once. We didn't have support. It was built upon a kind of a story that we turned out to be not true about the guy riding his horse and running into a rainstorm. I'm prepared, in fact, to take a look at permitless carry, which is what we're really talking about. I've met with the NRA. I've talked with Wayne LaPierre a number of times. He likes Utah. We've been listed about the second or third best most friendly Second Amendment state in America. It's not like we have a big crisis or problem here. In fact, our concealed weapon permit is now recognized by 31 other states. If you want to have concealed weapon and carry in this country, you get one from Utah. So again, if there's opportunities for us to fix it and do some things a little bit better with our universities and schools, which is an issue I'm concerned about, I think we can find a place where we can all feel good about it.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I've been overruled with her eyes. That does conclude our time for questions. Appreciate that. We will now turn to 2-minute closing for each of the candidates. For this round, we will go in reverse order from whatever you were before. That make sense? You're on your own. You don't have to worry. All right. So we'll go ahead and for any of those who are running uncontested, if you would like to make that presentation, you're welcome to. You can also wink at me and bypass. I just saw a wink. Okay, Mr. Dave, would you like to? Okay.
I just asked because we've been hearing some great words from our governor's candidates. That Second Amendment issue is very important to me. My feeling about it is any time you get a chance to restore the Constitution, you take it. And the governor is a wonderful man. I like sitting next to him, shared a mint, some small talk. He's a good man. But I very much disagree on not taking that chance, as other states have, to restore the Constitution. Another thing that came up to me is Kira, when she was up here, and Tina. I remember going up to the Morgan County Convention 2 years ago when I also ran, and really enjoying that. Great little convention. And I'm very impressed with them. I highly recommend Tina and Kira. We've got some great other folks running too, but I really like them very much. And Kira's husband, Lars, ran for a state legislature position last time. And he is a very impressive man. I love Lars very much. He is a true conservative. Unfortunately, the credentials of his opponent won the day. And so you have a question when you have people that you don't really know from before. They don't have a voting record from before. Can we really trust that this isn't some kind of a stealth situation? And we're going to wind up somebody who's really kind of liberal, but they're running as a Republican because that's the only way to get elected. I can tell you that I will be at the forefront of standing up for our national defense, of standing up for life, of standing up for marriage, of standing up for freedom and education, and these other things. And so I invite you to look and see how outspoken I have been on all these issues. I know I'm not to everyone's taste, but you definitely know where I stand. I'm Dave Chu. Please come get up here afterwards.
Going in reverse order, that goes through District 29. Well, you go in reverse order, so you're up.
I gotta go last, I gotta go first. All right. I just want to hit on the Second Amendment because I get a chance to talk about it. I'm a huge supporter of the Second Amendment. I've worked with Representative Oda and running the very issue you're talking about, and I can tell you that I know the governor, we've talked with him, and he's committed to work with us on that issue. We were actually proposing a piece of legislation this last session. It didn't make it through the session, but I tell you, I'm committed to bringing that back, because I think as a law enforcement officer, I'm not afraid of good law-abiding citizens carrying guns. It doesn't make me nervous. It's only people that make me nervous carrying guns are bad guys.
Right.
And they're going to carry guns whether we give them a permit or wouldn't matter what we do. And so those are the people I'm most concerned about, so I'm committed to that. And again, like I said, we've been here a long time. It's a hot night, so I'm going to end long before my 2 minutes. And like I said,
Since the last topic seems to be the Second Amendment, yes, I'm a complete supporter of the Second Amendment. And I just filled out a questionnaire today talking about, I think it was from the gun rights organization out of Colorado. And I just made a little comment on my survey there. I just said, yes, I support guns, but I support the Second Amendment. So I mean, if there's some other way, protect ourselves, I support that too. I'm all for support of our protection. Just wanted to say one thing about one of my friends. I was talking with him about the caucus system, and he's a supporter of it too, of course. But he said, we don't want to give up some freedom that we have. And I got thinking about that. The caucus system is so wonderful because it's on the local level. I mean, here we are in Weber County, and we're all elected from our own precinct. We know our neighbors, and we represent them. That's a Republican system. And if you go to the other way, just mass voting, that's a Democratic system. And I do believe there's some good to Democratic systems as well. I recall the vote in California that was set up where petitions had to be signed, and the people supported traditional marriage. So there is a place for the democratic system, and that's why our country is set up as a democratic republic. But really the most efficient government is a republic. And that's why Benjamin Franklin, when they finished the Constitution, as he was coming out, a lady asked what they had, and he said, "We have a republic, if you can keep it." So vote for Jim Macklin, and we'll keep that republic.
Thanks for coming out. My name's Matt Bell. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in less government. I believe that we have the opportunities there. I can hit the road running. I have that experience, and it's so important that we do that our coalition in northern Utah work together, because there are so many important issues up here that we have to work together. So my name's Matthew Bell, and I would appreciate your vote, and I appreciate the debate, and to get in the debate and the issues between now and the primary. Thank you.
Wow, it's pretty tough up here. If you think it's hot out there, sit up here. I guess just in summarizing, I really believe in local regulation. I think I have confidence in our local legislative districts, and of course I'm in District 11, and so I have confidence. I've reached out to each and every state delegate. I've talked to most of them. I've missed a few and still plan on talking to them before the end of, before the state convention. But I assure you, you will have accountability from me to the district and to the people. And I believe that each of you, as representative of your neighborhood and your families, that you will know what's best, and you'll be able to guide me and direct me in that way. And my name's Kelly Miles, and I want you to make your vote go the distance so I can be your voice on the Hill. Thank you.
Again, running for state treasurer. I'll try to be brief. I'd like to invite all of you, and to be getting an invitation in the mail in just a few days to a bagel breakfast, like to get your orange juice and a bagel. Come and are interested enough in a state treasurer's race that deserves a lot of attention because it's important. And the two things I'd like you to remember is that I think my management ability, creating and operating a successful mining explosives manufacturing company, along with my financial expertise with Arthur D. Little and Cook Associates, I think I could help bring for the citizens a new level of excellence the State Treasurer's Office, and I do think it's important to have turnover in that office from time to time. We've had very good people, but to avoid any chance of corruption, scandal, or things getting too cozy with certain financial interests, and making sure we stand up for the people of the state of Utah at all times, I would appreciate your support because I think it's important that every once in a while, maybe every 4 years, maybe every 8 years, have a change in the office of the state treasurer. Thank you very much for being here.
David Damson, State Treasurer. Our office issues all legislatively authorized bonds. We manage all the state's banking contracts. We manage $11 billion in investments, and we oversee the unclaimed property division. I've been doing this for 7 years. It's very complex, multifaceted. I know how it's done. Prior to coming here, I was working in the banking industry for 20 years with institutional corporate clients like Starbucks and Albertsons and Boise Cascade, doing the same kinds of work, bringing technology and efficiency into processes. And it is a target-rich environment, as you can imagine, the complexity and the size of the state. There are many projects that we've completed that save taxpayers millions of dollars through efficiencies. I'd like to touch really quickly on education, as we talked about before. One of the things that we did in recent years, 4 years ago, we created a credit enhancement program for charter schools. Charter schools that pass certain rigid standards can refinance their bonds or finance their facility. And if they receive a BBB- rating from rating agencies, we actually increase their rating by 7 notches to AA. On average, it saves about 1 3/4%. We've done 14 transactions under that program. Over the full term of those transactions, we're saving about $65 to $70 million in interest. That's one of the ways that we avoid the burden of increased taxes, is we find creative ways to keep costs down when we finance and to ensure that our investments are performing optimally as well. And the better job we do of that, the better job we can do of avoiding any potential need for increase in taxes. And I'll cut it short so we can move on to the next person. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you. We'll now move to our final race of the night, gubernatorial race. Governor Herbert.
Well, first, thank you all for enduring to the end. I know this has been hot and muggy, and thank you to the best of the best. I'm a common sense conservative. I try to get things done in a practical way. As governors, we have to deal with a lot of different issues. We have cards dealt with us all the time, and we try to make the best hand possible of what's been given to us, whether it's working in the legislature, the federal government, our education folks, but we have to actually execute. It's the executive branch, that's what we do. I'm moderate in tone. I'm not a big fire breather. I am conservative in principle, but I'm inclusive in process. I'll sit down with anybody and let's reason together, saith Isaiah, and see if we can find a way to get things done. I come with a significant background. We have people running for county commission, and I've been in the county commission. I can tell you that local government experience is invaluable. I'm a better governor because I first worked at the local level where the rubber really meets the road. I served 6 years in the military. I'm the commander-in-chief now, and I tell you, I feel a lot more comfortable because I actually wore the uniform at one time. I served as lieutenant governor. The opportunity to view the state over the shoulder of John Huntsman has prepared me to do the job. And as we see the outcomes we're getting, we see some tremendous, significantly positive outcomes based on all of us working together, bringing people together in an inclusive process, making our decisions based on conservative principles, and getting good outcomes. It really, at the end of the day, ought to be about outcomes, and by far, Utah's getting better outcomes than any state in America today. So thanks for all you do to make us, as I said, number 3.
2 minutes, I could have just held my breath and finished my talk. The Second Amendment. If someone were to walk in here, right here, you're a law enforcement officer, and break a law, what would you do?
Oh my, security guys.
Okay. Call the governor's security guys. And what would the security guys do? They would handle it right there. They would correct the breach of the law, wouldn't they? So when you ask about the Second Amendment, there's two things you have to kind of think about here. First of all, there's the contract with the creator, with the other states, that says that this right shall not be abridged. But there's the founding of the state of Utah that says you have the right to arms, but the state reserves the right to decide that they can modify how you use the arms. So if you handle a law, a person here doing something that's against what's written as a law, then you must handle things like this, like guns, exactly as they're written by the law. And now you got to decide which law. If it's the law that's the contract amongst the states, then it can't be abridged. If it's a law according to the Constitution of the state of Utah, then the Utah legislature has the ability to not deny your right to the gun, but to make restrictions on how you use it. Thank you. Good night.
The quality of leaders that you hire or elect will determine the quality of government that we get. You can hire a manager that works within the status quo, or you can hire a visionary who has a view for an even better Utah. The Utah where we are not dictated from the top down on what we study in our schools. The Utah where the Second Amendment is honored and we can have permitless carry. A Utah where taxes don't increase when we have surpluses. A Utah where we can control and locally own our federal lands. Usually in a primary election, there's not much difference between the candidates because we're all Republicans. This year, in our gubernatorial race, there is a difference. I ask you to go to my website, hirejj.com, look at the comparison page. See what the differences are. See which of our candidates lines up against your views. And if you like what you see, all that I ask is after you've put me through the rigorous interview process, is that you hire JJ on April 23rd at the state convention. Jonathan Johnson for governor. Thank you.